Okay. So I'm Renae Braun. I'm the virtual school principal. And then we have a kindergarten teacher here too as well.
Hi, I'm Becky Boyle, and I am the kindergarten teacher.
She's also the 4K teacher when we have 4K running as well. If you could just let us know how old your student is that you're interested in Fox Valley, that will help us just kind of tailor the meeting for you.
Yeah, so he will be 5, but not till October 1st. So I think he would go into the 4K.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
4.
Okay. So that's kind of a neat experience because they could keep Mrs. Boyle for 2 years then when they're in 4K in kindergarten at the same time. So we'll go ahead and get started. We are a 4K through 8th grade charter school, which is open for all students in the state of Wisconsin. So we'll kind of start with just what our school day looks like. This is our kindergarten, a small group for kindergarten. And what we do, hold on. So what it looks like, the day in general looks like we have a mixture of live lessons, which have some what we call live blocks. And that's where we teach direct instruction, perhaps in math. In kindergarten, she also does some direct instruction in phonics, as well as some reading skills, and she does a read aloud as well. Correct, Becky? We can get a little more in kindergarten.
Yes.
And then what we have also is something called afternoon learning. And we'll get into what that looks like too. We also have some small groups where the students are meeting with the teacher, either in a small group based on their specific needs, and it's personalized to their learning and what they need, or individual conferences so that one-on-one, the teacher and the student can work together to increase perhaps their reading or their writing skills. Sometimes it's math as well. There are 2 live blocks in the morning. Each one of them is 30 minutes and one is about 40 minutes. Now for 4K, that looks a little different. And I don't know, Becky, if you want to jump in and just say how your 4K is. That's only 1 live block in the morning.
Yes, sure. So my 4K day was only 1 live block for about between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on kind of increase that as time went on and students were able to sustain that focus a little bit longer. And then there were activities that the student would do independently that were different options for them that were based around our curriculum. I also had some students who, like I pulled into some of groups with my kindergartners as well based on academic needs.
Also in 4K and 5K, she runs a optional play group every day, which is totally optional, but the students can come on and play with, we send home perhaps a sensory bin of toys or Play-Doh or clay, and then they can play together. As the year goes on, they kind of start, self-directing it, like, let's all bring our Legos and we'll play together. Erin, do you have any questions on that before we keep moving?
Not so far. Nope.
Okay, great. We also always record our live blocks. So if a student is not able to attend, or if you have a doctor's appointment, or some of our families have also participate in homeschooling co-ops where they can do some social activities in their community, we record those and then we set it up in a platform so the student has 5 days to watch that on their own at their own time. Sorry. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks like. If you're interested in it, having it written out. The afternoon learning for both kindergarten and 4K. In 4K, it's a half-day program, so they might have 1 or 2 things they might be doing. Usually those are just optional and not necessarily required. In kindergarten, I think she has about 3 things, like a little phonics lesson, a little math lesson, and what else was there? iReady.
And then it's either like specials, which would be gym, music, art, and guidance for kindergarten. And then a read aloud once a week. So they do a math, a phonics, and then kind of like a different lesson each day based on what special they're doing. Like Renae said, 4K is a little bit different because it's a half day program. So I just had optional things for kids to do when they weren't on that live block.
We also have everything due on Friday. So although we set it up, and you'll see it's set up in a structure that kids and families could have like a specific structure to, but also have the flexibility if they choose to do things at different times throughout the week. We have many of our students doing work in the evening. Some like wake up really early and get some things done so that they can have the flexibility that virtual schools are, afford them as a family. The other thing that I think makes us stand out in our virtual program, our school, is that we really pride ourselves in our relationships with our students and with our families. We really try to partner with our parents and create a, partnership so that we are all working together on the same goals. We also spend a lot of time building relationships. We really wanted to keep what we think were the best parts about an in-person or a brick and mortar school and weave those into our virtual school. So our students have really strong relationships with our teachers. Many of our families have multiple siblings, so we really get to know our families well. We have one-on-one conferences. Right here, you'll see a first grade teacher reading with her student and having like a one-on-one conference so that we can really build that really strong community and relationship. We also really try to build our peer-to-peer relationships. We survey our students every year, and that was something that they really said was important to them, and they wanted to continue to build friendships even though they're virtual. So our teachers, like for example, the play group in 4K and 5K, but then also our teachers have lunch bunches often. They use breakout rooms to develop peer-to-peer relationships, and they do community building to really try to promote friendships and peer-to-peer relationships. We have a family directory that is optional that families can sign up for. And then that is sent out to the families in order, for them to connect with other families. So just again, we just put this in writing. So I've already said most of this. What's unique to our charter school is that each grade level is only has one teacher. We're not sharing teachers, or you're not having a coach for every subject. They really have one dedicated classroom teacher to each grade level until you start getting into the middle school. And then 7th and 8th looks a little bit different, where they have a math teacher and a literacy teacher. But other than that, we keep that dedicated classroom teacher. We also have optional field trips that we promote. We have optional STEM days where our students come in and they have a full day. Well, it's not a totally full day because we look at travel too for our families. So we might start 9:30 to 2 and have an all-day STEM day around our science. So it's hands-on and really active and engaging. So our curriculum, we have tried to keep what we've found really to be successful in a brick and mortar classroom. So we are different than other virtual schools. We do not have curriculums that you can pick and choose. Our program really we do all the teaching, and the parents don't have to. They could certainly participate in working alongside their students and helping them. But really we do all the teaching and modeling for the students. It's a very hands-on curriculum. So you'll see this is like a 2nd grade math box for manipulatives. They get a manipulatives in kindergarten. I think is 4K as well for math. And they get a little bag for phonics with magnetic letters, a whiteboard, dry board. We send home hands-on science and social studies curriculum so that although they might have a short science or social studies lesson, they can do that away from the computer and it can be hands-on. Becky, maybe you want to share a little more about what that might look like in practice?
Sure. As far as like the math and the literacy manipulatives that come with enrolling in our programs. They're used every single day, at least in my live blocks. It helps to keep the kids really engaged in what we're doing. They have the materials right there in front of them. They can use, like the counters to help them when they're learning to count groups or adding and subtracting. They have a whole bunch of things that they can use in literacy, such as magnetic letters to use to build words when they're learning their letters to match on their ABC chart. So especially with the little kids, I just think it's really important to help with engagement. And they're super excited about all the materials that they have. Our science and social studies that we do, there's materials like Renae said that I send home. So if it's, different things that they're doing that go right along with the curriculum, you have those materials right there. And the kids will watch like a short video kind of explaining what they're going to do, but then they can take those manipulatives and materials and actually do something hands-on.
We also have sessions for parents to learn how our math curriculum works. We do screencasts. We always poll our families to see would they prefer to have a live session or me doing a screencast or one of our literacy coaches or math coaches. So sometimes we do a screencast where we're teaching something and then we send that out so parents can watch it at anytime they want. Throughout the year, we provide information for each unit in both math, reading, and writing about what the big skills are for those reading and writings, those units, so that the parents understand the goals of the units and they can support their students. Is there any questions you might have, any of you?
Yeah, I have a question. So my son, he's in kindergarten. He is pretty advanced in math. Like that's really where his skills are, I think, higher than grade level. So I just worry he's going to get bored if he's doing the same math as everybody. So do they all learn at the same pace? How does that work?
So our live lessons do follow a curricular pacing, but we are very intentional about planning for the varying different needs in the classroom. But then also that's where we really pride ourselves. And actually we have quite a lot of students who are advanced because we use our afternoon time or our small group time or our one-on-one time to really target what the student needs and move them. So often in a brick and mortar situation, you might not see students who are above grade level getting to a year's growth in a year's time or learning at their pace. And we do that quite a bit. Becky, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that too, especially with 4K and 5K.
Sure. I can talk a little bit about it with what I've done in the past, as far as like I have had 4K students who have been, already at that kindergarten level. And I've kind of just looked at them as students, as individuals, not what grade level they were in, because I had the, ability to, because I was teaching both 4K and 5K. So I would kind of pull those 4Kers into my kindergarten lessons if that was something that was appropriate for them. We also do iReady, and that's part of our afternoon in kindergarten is having students do iReady lessons, and those there's really no limit. So if you were a kindergarten student but there was a certain skill that you were already working into the first grade standards and you have worked through all those kindergarten standards, it pushes you into first grade. And then in your small group, I would talk to the student about that, teach them what those, those next standards are. And then they would be working at that level when they're doing their iReady kind of independent work. So I feel like it's really a nice platform for students who are at either level, either, somebody who is really accelerated, that we have the opportunities to work one-on-one with those students and continue their growth, or students who might be on the opposite end and might have holes or areas where they're struggling. We can pull them in and really specifically, tune in those skills to get them to where they need to be.
We also try as hard as we can, especially in the primary grades, to develop some continuation of learning away from the screen. So a student isn't connected to a screen all day. So they might watch a short video and then they actually get writing packets at home to write stories with so that they're away from the screen. We have a monthly pickup so that if you're in the area, you come, you get everything you need for the next month for hands-on learning. If you're far away, we just mail those to you overnight so that you're also getting them at the same time as the other families. We talked at length about our small group learning, but we really feel that this is one of those things that really helps us stand out. We target the students' needs, and then we work on what they need. So for example, if we have a class of 15 and 3 or 4 need more writing support, we're doing small groups around writing to really target what they need and move them up the continuum of learning. And perhaps that, unit, we have 4 other kids who need more math support, then that's what we're working on with those kids. We really believe that fair is not equal, and we give students what they need based on where they're at and their learning goals. I think our data really shows that all our kids really excel and make at least a year's growth and many more within a year because we're able to target and personalize their learning. So for the most part, most students every afternoon get one about 30-minute meeting with a teacher in a small group based on data from the week before. That does change. It's sent out either on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the week in advance based on the needs of the students. We do have no small groups at all on Thursday afternoons so that we're able to support some of our families who have interests in doing other things outside of during the school day. That's often when many of our kids might take horseback riding, gymnastics, swim lessons during the day. They still have some work to do, but it's not so heavy that they can't get it finished with other things that they're doing. It is flexible, but we work with families. So if you let us know that you have a doctor's appointment or a counseling appointment or something, a therapy appointment at 2:00 on Friday, most of our teachers are able to work around that. We also have some intervention time with a reading specialist and a math interventionist if the student perhaps might need some extra support. Also, some of our students might receive special ed services, multilingual services, or special speech and language needs. So this is for an older class, but this is what the asynchronous learning might look like for a student in the older grades. So like Mrs. Boyle said, there would only be like 3 things or 2 things for kindergarten. And then
mine is much simpler.
Yeah. But otherwise, the students learn that we've structured it, that none of this needs to be done until Friday. The due dates are Friday. However, we structure it so if the students want some support and ability to be independent, they know they can work through this and then be finished by Friday. We have many kids. It's fascinating to watch. And especially when they start in a virtual setting as a young child. My daughter, for example, she started virtual, halfway through kindergarten for COVID, and she's in 4th grade and has stayed. In that 4th grade class in particular have all been with us pretty much since 1st grade. So they often, I think about the really big learning you need to have in the real world, right? Time management, how to pace, how to work long-term on something. And they flexibly can think about that. So we have some kids who say, hey, on Monday, I want to do all 5 of my math so that I get math out of the way. Or, at 7:30 when I wake up, I'm going to do 2 of these afternoon things so it's out of my way. Some of the kids will do less on Mondays and Tuesdays and more on Thursdays and Fridays because they like to ease into their week. We have some kids who try to get most things done so that their Thursday afternoon and Friday is all finished. So it just depends. And I think that's really something I wasn't aware. It's a hidden benefit of virtual that I didn't see in students before this. We sometimes get kids who enter our program at 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and it's so hard for them to manage their time, figure out how to independently self-start, whereas kids who have been with us, that's like their strength. So I think that's a hidden benefit that we weren't aware of initially. So some of our kids take that and they print it and then they cross it off or X it out when they're done because that helps them. With some families, we laminate these, send home a blue like chart strip, and then they put the little icons on and the kids set up their week. Like, this is what I plan to do for the week. It might look different, but I know all of these things need to be finished by Friday. So it's been kind of fun to watch kids do that. And I don't know, Ms. Boyle, if you want to talk a little bit about the support that perhaps kindergarten and how they start becoming more independent.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I guess we're just really super supportive and explaining to the families and kids what those expectations are. The videos that are shown are very explicit so that kids can see exactly how to play the games or how to do the activities. We want the kids to be as independent as possible. We understand, again, that they're 5 and they are going to need support. But now if you were to see my kindergartners, they, know how to get to what they need to in Schoology, which is our platform. They can successfully do things on their own, or they know how to ask if they're stuck on something. So yeah, we try to be as supportive as possible. There's easy ways to communicate with myself or other teachers if there's something that is tricking a student or there's a technology issue. So just making sure that that communication is always there so that it's easy for families and students.
And as you'll see, we also have specials 1 day a week. It is asynchronous, but it's really actually quite high quality. So the music, phy-ed, art, we try to promote hands-on learning there too. So physical education, they get quite a large bin of materials so that when they're doing their recorded lessons, they're able to participate and be active. In art, for example, our 4th graders painted mugs for art class, and we sent all those materials home so that the kids were able to, it was like a 4-week project. Currently, our 4th and 5th graders have a recorder unit for music. So they were all given recorders and they're learning the recorder. So we feel like that's done really well and they don't miss out on those fun pieces that they enjoyed. And that's really it for what we have to tell you, but if you have any questions or you're wondering anything, we're happy to answer those at this time as well.
I have kind of just a general question. So this is all sounding great. I live in the DC, or my family lives in the DC area now. We're moving to Wisconsin. Is enrollment just kind of rolling? How do you getting enrolled? How do we do that? If we're not entirely sure where in Wisconsin we are moving to, does that really matter?
Yep, that does matter. So yes, we are open to all Wisconsin residents. So you need to wait till you have a residency before you can apply. We did just have, I think last year we had a family, it's last year, who came from Australia, and they called us, they had several meetings with us before they moved. And then I just would send them emails like, when you're in the States, here's what you do. When you're in Wisconsin, here's what you do when you have residency, so that I'm able to support that when people are moving. But generally speaking, if you're a Wisconsin resident, we are open until we're full. So for next year, we have our window is open currently. And then technically we have to have an end date, because in case we got so many kids that we needed to do a lottery system, because it's based on random drawings, then we would do that. We closed ours for this year, and now it's open on a first come, first serve basis. So we close it to do the random, to make sure it's random and that we're not, we're picking all kids equally. And then now it's open again for all students on a first come, first serve basis. And generally speaking, you will apply in our applications are on our website. You apply to the charter school. I send you an acceptance email and letter saying you're accepted to the charter school. Your next step is to enroll in the open enrollment window for the state of Wisconsin. What that does is lets your school district that you live in, your residencies. So for example, if you lived in Oshkosh, it lets Oshkosh School District know that you won't be attending Oshkosh, you're going to Menasha, which is Menasha Joint School District. Then Menasha has to open enroll you. Like they'll say, yep, you've met the criteria to have an open enrollment into our school. You get an acceptance letter from them, and then you just register through our Infinite Campus or whatever student database we have to register, like you would register any student, and then you're in. And then what happens is we send you a welcome letter, we send you our parent handbook, and you get all your materials shipped to you. Mm-hmm. So there's for the state of Wisconsin, open enrollment opens here in February, I think, 4th through June. No, through, hold on. I think April.
Oh, you're looking that up because I think we'll probably end up in like the Madison or Milwaukee area.
Mm-hmm.
So then do you just ship all of the
Yep. We
supply?
ship it overnight, actually, so that you get it quickly. So the open enrollment period for 2024-25 is February 5th to April 30th. Then what happens is districts have to shut down for a period of time to allow families to decide, yes, I want to come. No, I don't. So that they can make sure they're not, you need to know who's actually committed to coming so that you know how many numbers you have. Then July 2nd, it opens back up for the what's called the alternative open enrollment window. And then that lasts July 2nd through the whole year, so you still, even in July, can open enroll. You just have that waiting period. The only time you can't is April 30th through June 2nd. You can still apply for the charter school and get accepted though. And then we just know come July 1st, I usually send out a blast saying, July 2nd is opening up. Here's the form that you need to fill out, send that in and submit to us. Yeah. For virtual schools in the state of Wisconsin, if you were open enrolling to a brick and mortar school, you only have 3 choices that you can ever apply to in person. And then you're done for the year as a family. Virtual school, there is no limit. So I always tell families, if you're interested, apply and make the decision later so that you can get in. Mm-hmm. Because some schools have like we had to wait list our 7th and 8th graders this year. Does that help, Andrew?
That does, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We're small enough that usually, like Aaron, I don't know if you noticed, but when you emailed me back in, I think it was almost a year, like 6 months ago, then I just put it in my calendar to contact you when I know the windows are coming close to being opening.
So I don't really know how specific you can be with this, but our 4-year-old has never been not daycare, never been away from us and grandma or anything. So just we're very worried about the transition and it not being away from us. So I guess, have you seen that before? And how has that gone? How do you support that so that we know it can be kind of a smooth transition, I guess, for lack of a better word?
Yeah.
Answer that. No.
Yeah, we have many students who have never went to a brick and mortar school and have been home with their families the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And then join our virtual school. But yes, Becky, you do.
I would say that, especially at the beginning of the year, the level of support with families is, very different based on needs of students. So I've had kiddos where mom, dad, or grandma are literally right next to them for the first month and a half to get them comfortable with being at school or what that classroom routine looks like. And I have other kids who day one, their parent is, in another room, but kind of an earshot away. So that really is what works best for your child. We try throughout the year to build that independence, but if you being there with them is something that makes them comfortable, go for it. It just kind of like add you in as part of the class. As far as like the field trips go, most of the time, all of my parents come. Sometimes they have siblings who are with them. And we've been groups that are an appropriate size that hasn't been a problem. So I've had a few parents just drop off their kids, but for the most part, they will stay with them just because they haven't had that exposure of being left with, a teacher that they've only ever seen on the computer versus somebody that they've been in a classroom with all year. So I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Erin, also as a mom who has a student who's been home with me since fourth grade or since first grade and is now in fourth grade, she did do 4K and half of kindergarten until COVID shut the schools down. But I actually find her to be very independent, very social. I mean, she participates in outside activities for social, in peer, groups, but I don't see it negatively affecting her social emotional well-being at all. It's fun to have, there's a really nice component of having your child with you a lot and having that family unit longer than, usually schools start seeing your students more than you do when you put them in school. Mm-hmm. Any other questions anyone might have? Okay. We do run on the Menasha calendar in case anyone is wondering. We get that question a lot. And so if there's a snow day, then we have a snow day. Parent teacher conferences, no school days, they all run under that calendar. Okay, thank you. If you have any questions, you have my email. You can email me at a later point. Our application is on the website. If you haven't been to our website, I'll just put that in the chat. It does have a wealth of knowledge for you to learn more. We also have a Facebook page dedicated to our school, so you can learn. A lot of families who are thinking about it join our Facebook page to kind of get a sense of the community. Okay, Erin, are you close by?
We're Beaver Dam area,
Okay.
so not super far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have some family, more families in the. I mean, I know that's not always in Columbia. Is it Columbus County?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some families out there and in Dane County. Mm-hmm. I'll put the website in the chat for you. Okay, thank you. Let us know if you need anything at all.
Thank you for taking the time. Yeah.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.